Hello, this video will provide faculty an overview of how to create groups and use those within Brightspace by D2L. Groups can either be teacher created, so that the teacher specifically puts certain people in certain groups. They can be teacher created in the sense that the teacher creates the number of groups, but they are randomly assigned, students are randomly assigned to the groups. Or you can have it where it is self-selected, where the student self-enrolls themselves into the group that they want to join. These groups can be used for discussions or assignments in most cases. Discussion groups in most cases is when you have a discussion area and the person in that particular group, people in that group can only see and respond to others in that group. With the assignment groups, this is done in cases of like collaboration among a group of people. One person in the group can submit to the whole group assignment area, but when the instructor grades and gives feedback, it populates to everyone else in the group. Another option for using groups is individual discussion groups, and this can be used to where each person has their own private discussion area to where they can asynchronously talk back and forth with the instructor, and it might be a great thing to use for the instructor to give individual feedback over time or to use for things like journaling. If you know you're going to have groups in your course, it's probably easier to set up the groups first and then go and set up your assignments and your discussions and all those different pieces first. If you don't do this ahead of time, you can always go back and associate the groups with the discussion or the assignments. It's just easier to set it up initially the first time. So, to set up our groups, we're going to go to More and Course Admin, and then we're going to find groups here in our list. From there, we're going to make a new category of groups. And let's create this one. We'll name this one Discussion Groups. And we're going to create this as our classic discussion groups. I'm going to have one discussion question. I'm going to have different people in different groups discussing the same thing. So under enrollment type, we are going to choose how we want people to be enrolled in these discussion groups. So we have, so the ones that say no auto enrollments, that is not going to auto enroll the students, which means you're going to have to go in there and choose who goes in what group. The ones that don't say auto enrollments, they're going to randomly put students in those groups. You can see who's in those groups and you can move those students from one group to the other. If you say, I don't want these two to be together, whatever, you can move those around. But it does save you some work on the forefront because it does at least put them into a group. The ones that say self-enrollment mean that the student, him or herself, actually chooses the group to enroll themselves in. So they enroll themselves into the particular group. And then the last one is the one that we talked about a little bit earlier for like the journaling, to where there's groups created and each student is in their own group. And the instructor can talk back and forth to the student via the discussion board in that group, but only the student and the instructor can see that group. So we're going to be looking at these two, the second and third, for our classic discussion groups. So we have groups of X numbers. So I'm going to have groups of 3. So I could set it that way, or I could say the number of groups. I want 5 groups, and it's going to divvy out however many people are going to go into whatever groups. Or I want groups of 2. I want to have partners. So you can choose that. So we'll do groups of numbers, and I'll just have 3 groups here. And then we're going to scroll on down, and we want to make sure to auto enroll new users, and that's going to automatically, if somebody gets added into the course slate, it's going to automatically put them into a group, so you don't have somebody stranded out there with no groups. You want to make sure to have it checked to where they're where it's randomly going to put students in groups. And then we're going to come down and notice that these might be collapsed by default, so you might want to expand them out if you don't see them initially. Now we are going to decide what needs to be created for the students to be able to use their groups. So at this point we could technically just save and the groups would already be made, but since I don't already have my discussions or my assignments set up, I'm going to go ahead and set these up now. So I can choose to set up a discussion area, and I can choose what forum it goes into. And then I want to create a new topic for this particular discussion group. So it will automatically create this discussion for me and automatically put those students into those groups already. Now, if you had already created the discussion, you just wouldn't do this piece, and then you could go back later and associate those groups to that discussion, which I'll show you later. But this is just creating it all in one lump sum at the beginning. So I'll save that. It's then going to ask me how I want my discussion groups to be created. So you have a choice. You can have it to where by default it's going to create one topic with threads separated by group. And what that means is there's only going to be one thread, and you're going to see everybody, and it looks almost like a regular discussion. So you're going to see, everyone's going to be, you're going to see one discussion area. Everybody's posts are going to be mixed in. But as the student, you're only going to see the group, you're only going to see the post made by people in your group. So you kind of have to, it's a little bit tricky when you first see it as the teacher, because as the teacher you're going to see everybody. You just have to know that only students in their particular group can see those discussions. So you might be able to see a discussion and you might say, okay, well, group 1, please read this. But if that student who posted it is in group 2, the group 1 can't see it. So it is cleaner because there's only one discussion area. There's only one discussion topic, so it is cleaner for the teacher to look at, but it can be confusing if you don't know who's in what group and you're not paying close attention to that. The other option is to create one topic per group. So it's actually going to create 3 separate topics, and then of course the only people in each one are able to see that. So I'll create this one. It looks a little bit more complex, but I think it is easier for people to follow. So then I create next. And now I'm going to go to my discussion area so that you can see what these look like. So notice I now have discussion 1, I have group 1, group 2, group 3, and I have that they are restricted by that specific group. So that's what I meant by having 3 different ones. If it was just one, you would just have one discussion group and then everyone would be in it, and only those, you could only see threads based upon your restriction. But this one is a little bit easier to use. If you want to check it, you can do edit topic. And if you notice under restrictions, you will see that they are restricted by people in group 1 or whatever. So what that means is anybody in group 1 will be able to post here. Anybody in group 2 will be able to post here. Anybody in group 3 will be able to post here. So what you would do then is you would want to edit the topic, and you would want to make sure to give the description of what to post here. You would then continue setting up the discussion as necessary so that they would see this information. The only thing with having 3 different group discussions like this is you can't connect them all to one grade item. So what you would have to do is have a grade item that for this discussion group, and you would have to toggle between it and have it open in the grades area and then grade here. So what you would have to do is click on this to be able to see who posted in this thread, and then you would have to have a separate tab open for the grades area to be able to come in, and let's say that this was the discussion for that. Basically, you would have to come in and toggle and read what they posted and then give them a grade this way, because you couldn't grade it through the assignment area because they are different ones. So let's go back and let's do something similar, but do it with the other one so you can see the difference. So in this case, we're going to go back to groups, and we'll make a new category. I'll go ahead and delete these out so that we can make a new one. Okay, so here we're doing the same thing. We're creating discussion groups, 3 groups, auto enroll, and having the discussion area set up. The only difference that we're going to do here really quick is instead of choosing create one with or creating separate groups, we're just going to create one topic total. So create one topic. Well, this one is create one per group, which is what we did initially a minute ago. We're just going to create one with it separated by group. And so here we can say post information. And so when I create that, now when we go to the discussion area, what we're going to see is it just made one group here. And so everyone's going to post to this one topic, but again, they're only going to see who is in their particular group. So same purpose, same means to an end, just a little bit different of how you look at it. Okay, so now let's do a similar thing for the assignment area. So we'll go to course admin, we'll go to groups, and we will do a new category, and we will name this group assignment. Same thing, I want numbers of groups. Same thing here. And then what I want to do is I want to, down here at the bottom, set up assignments. And so I'm going to set up an assignment to where they have a file submission. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to create an assignment called group assignment. And it's going to restrict it to where if I'm in group 1, I can submit to group 1 and all my group mates can see what I submitted. As the teacher, you grade group 1 and all those grades will automatically push to the D2L gradebook. I don't have to grade all 3 members separately. It'll give you just one grade and I'll push it to all of them. So I want to set up the assignment. I'll choose to name it group assignment. And here you see I'm making a group assignment. So I'm making it to where they are going to have a group area for this. And I can connect this to a grade item if I like. Very similar to what you do when you are creating a regular assignment area for your students. We're just making it for a group. All right, so this is going to get created. And so now when we go to the assignments area, notice down here at the bottom we have our group assignment. It is connected to a grade item, and this little icon means that it is a group assignment, which means if I'm in group 1 and I grade this assignment, the grade goes automatically to all 3 groups. So let's demonstrate that grading process really quickly. So I have one person who's submitted to the group assignment, so I'll click on this and I'm going to grade it like normal. I'll choose group assignment. I'll be able to see that for group 1, one person, this is the file that they submitted, and specifically I can see that Robert Hamby was the one who submitted it. I can click on this and send him an email, but you see it submitted for the entire group. And then if I want to expand this out, I can change it to where group 2 and group 3 have not submitted yet. So this is a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. In individual submissions, you're used to seeing the name of the person and what they submitted. In this case, Robert was part of group 1 and he submitted for group 1. So what I would do now is evaluate. And when I do so, this grade is going to populate to all people in that group. So I would include all my information. If there was a rubric here, I'd be able to populate that rubric. And then when I publish it, it's going to get sent to everybody in that group. Okay, now what happens if I've already created my discussion and I just want to link it to a group? I don't want to have to create a whole new discussion. So you can actually do that. So let's say in this case, I've created this discussion. I can come to edit topic, and I can come to restrictions, and I'm actually able to come and group restrict it and add groups and restrictions, and I'm able to choose who this restricts to. So this might be restricted to group 1. And then what I would need to do is I would need to copy this content out and create a brand new discussion. So essentially you're doing the same thing I did earlier, just doing it backwards. So I would make a new topic. I would choose my forum that it goes in. Same thing, all the same information, but under restrictions, I would just need to restrict it to group 2. and so on and so forth. So this one is restricted to group 1. This one is restricted to group 2, and so you would do the same thing as you go about it. So you're kind of creating the discussion and then associating it to the groups rather than creating the groups and associating it to the discussion. You can also do this in the assignment area. So when you create a new assignment, we would fill out the information like we're used to completing for creating a new assignment. We'd give it a name, associate it to the grade book. We'd put in start and end dates. Under submission and completion, this is where you pick if it is an individual or group assignment. So in this case, I would want to have it a group assignment, and I pick the group category that it goes with. And then I would just continue filling out, adding a rubric, associating it with Turnitin, all of those different components. So before I showed you where you create a group, and as you create the group, you create the assignment. This is doing it backwards. You create the assignment and associate it to the group that you already have created. It's the same means, it's different means to the same end. It's just two different ways to go about doing it. But now we have our a group assignment here. It's still associated to, it's still a group activity, and it's still associated to a grade item. So same thing that we have here, we just went about it two different ways to get them accomplished. So now let's go back to the groups area, so course admin and groups, and let's create a new group called independent journals. So then under enrollment type, we want to make sure to choose the specific user member specific groups, because remember, those are going to be the one that's going to create one discussion group per person. So then down here below, I can set up discussion areas to have, independent discussions. You can actually set up assignment areas too if you want to, if you want each person to submit a different assignment area, but that's no different than just doing individual assignments. So in most cases, you would do this with the discussion area. So I'm going to make a new form really quick to make it easy on myself, and we'll just say journals. All right, so I'm going to save that, and then we're going to choose to save, and then we have our options before of making just one topic with each person only being able to see what they have responded to, or see, only see the ones that they are connected with, or to have actual different topics. So I'm going to choose the actual different topics. To me, it's easier to understand and know what you're posting to. It does take up more room though. So we'll create those, and then now when we go to the discussion area, there's only 2 people in this course, but we see down here we have journals, and then we have independent journals and the name of the student. And so what's good about this, and again, remember they're one per each one. If I had set it to where it was just one topic, you just have one topic, and Robert would only be able to see Robert's post. Sample student would only be able to see sample student's post. But in this case, it's a little bit easier to see and read, so they can only the teacher and the student can talk in this discussion area. But it is a good way for the person to come in and start a thread and post something, and then you as the teacher to reply to it, and to kind of have an asynchronous back and forth that way. So that is how you set up independent discussion areas that's private only to one person. So lastly for this video, let's talk about how you can enroll users and see who's enrolled in what group and maneuver those around if you want to. So we will go to course admin, and then we're going to come down back to our groups area, and then this will look familiar because this will be the groups that we've set up before. So if you remember, we set up groups here before, and we have our individual groups. So you can rename these if you want to. You can rename the assignment itself by edit the category and rename these. By default, they're going to be, the groups will be named group 1, group 2, group 3, but if you want to rename those, you can click on them, and you can rename the group if you have group A, B, C, whatever you want to name it. And then you can change the enrollment of these groups by choosing this and then enroll users. And then you'll be giving a list of the users. In this case, there's only 2 people. And you'll be able to see which group they're enrolled in. And if you want to change it, you can change it. So if Robert initially is in group 1, if I really want him to be in group 3, I can change it. Notice if you accidentally have them checked to where they're in double groups, more than one group, it'll give you a little notice letting you know that. So again, you just want to make sure that they are only in one group. But this is how you can assign them to groups or change their groups as well. And again, all of that is done under course admin, groups, and then this drop down of enroll users. And you can move people around. If you want to change the titles, you can edit category, or you can click on the specific group and be able to edit this way. If you want to be able to just see who's in the group, you don't necessarily want to change it, you can click on the group 1 or whatever the group is and do view enrollment, and you would be able to see who was enrolled in that group. So nobody's enrolled in that one, but let's pick group 2, and then we'll be able to see here view enrollment, and we'll be able to see who's enrolled in that. And you could take a screenshot of this or copy and paste it if you want to be able to have a quick source as to who's in what group. So that is the process of creating the groups, enrolling people into the groups if they aren't auto-enrolled, or moving them around, how to create discussion groups, how to create assignment groups, and then how to create just a one-on-one group with one person in each group.